Hi, I'm Ajay Banerjee, Deputy Editor of the Tribune at New Delhi. Today, far away in Jakarta, Indonesia, Prime Minister Modi and his Indonesian counterpart agreed upon two important things. And these things are important for China's backyard. India will supply Astra beyond visual range missiles to Indonesia. Indonesia flies the same Sukhoi kind of jets. These missiles are already mated onto the Indian Air Force Sukhoi jets. So India has the hardware and the software to integrate these missiles into the Indonesian Sukhoi jets. The second point is even more important. India and BrahMos agreed for a sale of BrahMos missile batteries. Now, this is very important because Indonesia has now become the third country in the region, along with Vietnam and Philippines, to have the BrahMos coast-based missile batteries. All the three countries are what China considers its own backyard. All the three countries have a coast along the South China Sea. Two of them, the Philippines and the Vietnam, are in a standing maritime dispute with China over the territorial waters or the limits of the South China Sea. South China Sea, I must tell the viewers and listeners here, has got very good hydrocarbon reserves of crude oil and natural gas. India's decision to sell the BrahMos to the Philippines, to Indonesia today, comes close on the heels of the two other sales made to the Philippines in 2022 and to Vietnam in 2025. These three countries will be using the BrahMos. How is Indonesia more important than the other two? Indonesia sits astride four important straits, which are the sea routes between the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. These four straits are, from the west to the east, the Straits of Mallaca, the Straits of Lumbok, the Straits of Sunda, the Straits of Lumbok, and the Ombai Wetar. All these straits connect the Indian Ocean and the Pacific, and all major shipping trade routes use these four straits for all shipping or military ship movements, all submarine movements. Already, there are reports in the Western media how the US has mapped some of these straits with undersea sensors to keep an eye on Chinese submarines passing through these straits. The sale of the BrahMos to the Indonesia at the moment, along with the sale of the Astra, signifies India's readiness to supply weapons to China's neighbours. China has been doing this for several years, supplying cutting-edge weapons to Pakistan and also to Bangladesh. India also has military ties with other nations in the region, but to amplify it, these three nations suddenly are showing up. Vietnam, Philippines, and Indonesia are suddenly showing up as buyers of Indian military equipment. It also has another connotation that Indian military equipment, especially the BrahMos and the Astra, which has been developed indigenously, makes a point that Indian weapons are now accepted by certain nations. Now, crucially, these three nations happen to be in what China sees as its own backyard. That is another dimension. However, coming back to what these weapons mean further, these three countries buying these weapons means that they are not alone. India has military ties with Malaysia, very good military ties with Malaysia, has been doing some repair and maintenance for them, has good ties with Singapore, has very good ties with Myanmar, supplied them with critical technologies to Myanmar. With Singapore, it does military exercises, allows Singapore to use Indian territory to conduct its land-based exercises, because Singapore is a small country, doesn't have enough land to conduct a, say, an artillery exercise or a tank exercise, so they conduct the exercise in India. India also has very good ties with other countries like Brunei out there, and also other countries like Papua New Guinea, located in the Far East, north of Australia. India is also part of the Quad, as we know. The Quad has Australia, Japan, India, and the US. US has several bases along the Western Pacific, which includes Guam, to name a few. And there is already an exercise going on in Hawaii with Indian maritime reconnaissance plane, the Boeing P-8I, participating there. The exercise is called the RIMPAC. Also, the Quad has its own system, though it's not named as the Quad exercise. The Malabar exercise is seen as a kind of a Quad exercise because all the four partners of Quad participate in the exercise Malabar. We will keep on updating you this story. With me is Tribune photographer Mukesh Agarwal.